All right, Facebook. I'm John Crutchfield. Good to see you. We talk real estate every Monday at noon. Um, and today we're going to talk about how to make more offers. First things first, we're going to look at a deal that we put under contract last week. I'm going to tell you how we found it, why we put it under contract. We're going to talk about the numbers, and we're going to talk about what we're going to do with this deal. This is an active deal under contract, so please do not contact my seller or you're just a slime ball. But hopefully this will help somebody. Okay. If you notice, this is listed for sale by owner right now. Okay. I think I might have even called this seller on one of our calls. I can't remember. But what we noticed is that the seller had this on market and it's been on the market for 143 days. Okay. One of the things that I will share with you today in our conversation about making more offers is that time on market is a factor that determines which deals my team reaches out to. So 30 days or more, we want to reach out because those people listed their property for listed their property for sale, and they've probably already got enough calls where they're starting to realize they might not get what they thought. Okay. Just look at the way this one is listed. We can see that he's asking for investors, okay, which means he's probably not trying to get full price. He's also saying that the property just appraised for 270 in July. He's got it listed for 238, so there's some equity there. He's still doing work to the property, so I see pain here, right? He did some foundation repairs on January the 4th, which is kind of interesting that he did foundation repairs on January the 4th. But he's had the property on the market for 143 days. So he must have gotten some feedback from people telling him, hey, the house has some foundation issues. He's still working on it. If we look at the photos real quick, this is a property that looks like renovation has been done. It does look like, some stuff was skipped, but for the most part, I can see a renovation. Property looks in decent condition. It does show well. Okay. So, probably does need some work, but the property does show well. Nice backyard. Nice little carport in the back too, for somebody as well. I can see the hot water heaters in fairly newer condition. And I can see the AC units in fairly newer condition. These are things that I can just see from the photos that he submitted on his for sale by owner. Okay. So when I saw 143 days, we definitely call these. So what I do is I have virtual assistants who look for these specifically. Like over 30 days, the person probably has some pain, and we call them using the script that many people that are doing our 90-day challenge have. We call them looking for pain. Okay. So in this situation, there's a couple of things that I want to verify before I even present this guy an offer. Okay. And I can't show everything on the screen, but I will show I will show the appraisal. How about that? So one of the things that I want to verify before I get too crazy with this guy is I want to verify that he actually has an appraisal for 270. Okay. So when I call the seller, I just say, hey, I'm an investor. I'm potentially interested in this property. Can you send me the appraisal? And he does. He sends me the appraisal. Okay. I can see that this is the property. And I can see that the date on the appraisal is from June. Okay. So I do have an appraisal from June. And right away, I see that the appraisal is for 270. Okay. I also went and looked at the comps that are being used for the appraisal. And so I see, okay, there was 3 comps. They were all within a mile. They're like-kind properties. So this wasn't his friend that did this appraisal, right? This is somebody who actually did the appraisal. So 270, hey, that's pretty cool. So why isn't this selling? That's the question, the next question I want the answer to. Okay. And some of you all, if you're watching some of our content, sometimes you get this information early. Okay. But this isn't selling because he has a tenant living in the property. Okay. And once you put a tenant in the property, you're lowering the value of the property to retail buyers. Okay. Most retail buyers cannot unsee a tenant living in the property. So if you're selling that property to a homeowner, most retail buyers, they can't imagine themselves living there. The best time to sell a property to a retail buyer is going to be when the property is staged, but nobody's living there. Staging is fantastic. Make it look like somebody lives there, right? Great furniture. In fact, most of these photos, I think, are probably staged. If you can't see the screen anymore. But if you look at these properties, I would imagine that this is somebody staged this house to try to sell it. I don't think anybody was living here at this time. Okay. You can actually see that it's staged, right? It might be like virtual staging. It looks like one of those people that kind of virtually stage a property. So the clothes in the closet there are kind of probably virtual props for somebody to imagine the property condition. All right, so what's the next step? Like we got the appraisal at 270 and we got the seller telling us that the property's occupied. We find out that the tenant is currently paying $2,200 a month. Well, the next step is how bad do you want to get out of this property, right? Like what would happen if you still own this property in a month or 2 months? And we listen for the answer. Okay. In this case, the seller just had to put money into the property to fix it, to hopefully sell it, right? Like he was hoping that he was going to get it sold. But since it hasn't sold, he doesn't see himself getting that money back. And so we want to find out how much money he actually needs to walk away from this property. Okay. In this case, the seller needs 5K. He just wants 5K and he wants to get out of the deal. Now, why would somebody have an appraisal for 270, but be willing to only walk away with 5K and move on? Y'all got the answer? What's the answer? Pain, right? Pain, frustration. Maybe there's a property problem. Sometimes there's a property problem. In this case, he sees rental properties for what they are. Rental properties are great for long-term wealth creation. They're absolutely horrible for short-term peace in your life. Okay, we got to deal with tenants. We got to deal with repairs and maintenance. Short-term rental properties are not fantastic. He owes the bank. Eugene, we asked him, how much do you owe the bank? He owed the bank right at 200K. So he had some equity there between what he owed the bank and what the appraisal was for. There's $70,000 in equity there. Okay. We also got a list of all the repairs that he did to the property, all the scope of work. And then we also do a walkthrough of the property with the tenant there. So we can see, is the property still in the same condition? And the seller is providing all of this to us. This is one of my favorite sellers ever. He's supposed to come to one of our meetups at the end of the month because he's an investor too, right? He's just kind of wants to get out of this deal because it's costing him money every month. So once we got a copy of the mortgage statement that shows us, we got a copy of the mortgage statement that shows how much he's paying. We got a copy of the taxes, the insurance. We get a copy of everything. We could kind of see what his frustration is, which his frustration is he's trying to sell a property with a tenant in it, okay? And the property is continuing to cost him money because he has to do maintenance on the property and he just wants out. Now, he could give the tenant a 30-day notice and ask the tenant to leave, but he can't do that because the lease that he signed was a year long, okay? So he has to keep that tenant in place until June of this year, and he just sees that as 6 more months of him potentially having to deal with maintenance issues, him potentially having to deal with all the frustrations that come with owning a rental property. Good to see y'all popping in. Hey, Ryan. I think that's Riz. Hey, Riz. How you doing, lady? Ronnie, good to see you. Isaac. Um, but basically, he's frustrated. Okay. So, how do we structure an offer for this guy? Okay. The number one issue that he has is that he wants to get out of managing the tenant, managing the debt, taxes, the insurance. He wants to get out of dealing with the cost of this property. Okay, we're talking about a subject to deal in this situation. Okay, why don't we buy the property outright? Like, why don't we just make him a cash offer? Well, let's be real, y'all. Let's say the ARV of this property is 270 and we multiply that by 70%. Okay. Um, and we don't factor in any repairs, although we should. Let's just say it's 70%. That's how we're going to do this. Okay. The max offer that we can make him is 189. Okay. Now, if you're going to make a cash offer, I would highly advise you to always deduct for repairs, even if you think there aren't any, there are. Always deduct for holding costs. You're going to have some fees in there. If it's a cash offer, y'all, it needs to be a cash offer. Even adjust your ARV a little bit down, because if you're spending your cash right now, you really need to be getting a great deal. Okay. But anyways, this guy owes 200,000. If you make a cash offer to him for 189, he's probably not going to even like consider taking it because he'd have to bring cash to close. Okay. Now we do always, and Twana, you need to hear this. We do still always, um, like kind of ground them with a cash verbal offer. So I will say something like, you know, you're not my typical customer. This is not the typical property that we buy. You've done a lot of work to this property, a lot of rehab. And so usually I make cash offers on properties that need a lot more work. And for this property, I might offer something like 140,000. And you would never take that, right? I would say something like that. So I'm on his side when I verbally say, you would never take something like 140,000 because this property is in great condition. Every now and then he might say, well, yes, I would take 140,000, right? Very rare. But what you did is you floated the idea of what the cash offer would look like while getting to what the offer is that you really think they would take. Okay. The offer they're really probably going to take in this case is something that solves his headache. Um, his headache is that he wants to get out of the expenses of the property and he wants a little bit of cash in his pocket. So that's what we offered. Okay. We offered him 5K in his pocket and we take over the property. And you're right, Twana, like we definitely have to educate him because he asked, well, the loan stays in my name. How does that affect me? What happens if you don't make the payments? How does that affect me? And you just kind of have to work through those concerns. Make sure you're dealing with a title company that handles all of the paperwork. They handle all the power of attorney requests, the wraparound mortgages. Get all of the information for the mortgage that you need in advance. Title company, a great title company should be your friend. If you need a great title company, if you're in DFW, reach out to me. In Mississippi, I hate to say it right now, but I'm still searching. And if you got offended by the fact that I'm still searching for a great title company in Mississippi, reach out to me. And if you're a great title company, we're looking for you. Okay. If you got offended, you should be, because a lot of title companies suck. Okay. They don't want to do creative stuff. But if you are a great title company and you're in North Mississippi, we'd love to reach out to you. We're trying to add a few more to what we have going on. And we do have some good title folks in North Mississippi. We just can't refer them right now because they're kind of overwhelmed with work and we can't refer them because they're few and far between. Let's see. Riz just checking in. You think I've stopped live streaming on Facebook? Okay, well, I can't figure that out right now. But hey, Facebook, if it is working, good to see y'all. If you want to get in this Zoom room, maybe Riz, maybe you can post underneath it a link to this room so people can get in this room. How are we going to get rid of this deal? What's our plan? Okay, so what's our plan? I've actually already got a buyer for this deal. It's a guy who doesn't he doesn't get loans. He only does subject twos. I don't know if he's not qualified to get loans or what, but I've sold him several subject twos. So this is going to be a wholesale for us. Um, Basically, he takes over mortgages subject to. He's willing to pay a wholesale fee. So we'll make a wholesale fee for connecting our buyer with this opportunity. Why does our buyer like this opportunity? This is a good thing to think about. And I actually would like people in the room to answer. What are some benefits of this opportunity to our buyer?
There's already equity in the deal.
Equity in the deal. So you got an appraisal for 270, and the whole, let's just say the whole deal is costing us 210. So buyer likes that there's equity in the deal. What are some other advantages to the buyer?
No
Five,
realtor.
yes,
Uh,
5K
um,
entry. In this case, Eugene, our fee on this is 10K. I'll just put it out there. So a very easy deal for us. So he's actually getting into the deal for about 15K. So what a lot of wholesalers will do, and I just had this happen this morning, we watch these social media videos with people that are making 25 and 30 and 40K wholesale fees. And those are, I've made 45K, 50K wholesale fees. Those are fun, but those are rare, right? And if you want to follow somebody else that's not going to tell you the truth because they're trying to sell you a program, like the $50,000 wholesale fees, unless you're in California over there with Eugene or some market that's a high dollar market with $1 million properties, your typical wholesale fee might be, 15, 20, 25K. Those are more common. 10K is doing okay if it's not a lot of work. So in this case, you don't want to mark your fees so much that you can't find a buyer for it, right? You don't want to have your fee and your money that's going to your seller add up to be so high that you can't find a buyer or that you can't close it yourself if you have to. And with this type of deal with 5K entry, if I couldn't find a buyer for it, we could close it ourselves. And so I'm okay with putting it under contract under those circumstances. I see a few other comments in the chat. Yes, Eugene, 5K entry, that's huge. You want to keep your entry as low as possible because your end buyer does not want to put a whole lot of money down. They really probably want to put less than 10% down. Okay. This is recording for those of you who need to revisit this later. So just think through that. If this is a $200,000 house, you want your wholesale fee to be under 10% and the entry for the customer to be under 10%, the entry to the seller. So my fee and the money that the seller is getting need to be under, 20K, because you're going to be looking for a buyer that will put 25K or 30 or 35K down so you can make some money. Isaac says creative funding. Yeah, he doesn't have to go get a mortgage. This is a 30-year loan at 5%. So he can't get that now. Eugene loans money. He knows right now, we're being offered 8%, 8.5%. So, he can't go get a 5.5% rate now. And so that's an advantage to the buyer as well. Yeah, there's fees, Chidi. So when you do a subject to, we do everything through the title company. So you're still going to have to pay, your transaction fees, your title work, your attorney's fees. That you're still going to have those. But like maybe you don't have the loan points that you would pay if you went and got a lender, and there is some risk to subject twos, right? So for those of you that are totally anti-risk, you probably aren't in this room, but if you're totally anti-risk, sure, there's a due on sale clause with subject to deals. I've seen sellers cause a lot of problems for people later on after they change their mind or something down the road. So those are some risks to subject to deals. But in this case, we wholesale this, so we make our money and we move on from a deal like this. If we weren't wholesaling it, the play on this is to close on it, wait till the tenant's lease ends, and then list it for sale. Because his problem is that he has a tenant in it, but he needs to get a retail buyer in order to make this deal work. And I do see this a lot, actually. I see it a lot. I've had to do this as well, so I get it. I understand it. The seller put it out there for sale. You flip it. People start coming look. Nobody buys it. And then you put a tenant in it because you don't want to have to keep paying that mortgage, right? That mortgage, those expenses. But when you put a tenant in it, it does lower your ability to be able to sell it for top price to a homeowner. Ask me how I know. Had that happen multiple times. So now we do have to empty properties in order to sell to retail buyers as much as possible. Every now and then you might be in a hot location where somebody doesn't mind like making you an offer and waiting on the tenant to move. But in general principles, people like a property that's staged and there's nobody living there. That's gonna help you sell it better as an investor. Chidi says, okay, so I see all the comments in the chat. So let's talk about how to make more offers. Anybody got any questions about this deal in particular before we talk about specifically making more offers? And if you're putting something on Facebook, I can't see it today, so just try to get in the room. Questions?
Do you have, in regards to like subject to, do you have like a good resource you would recommend that kind of gives a good quality kind of breakdown as to legally kind of how to approach it and structure a contract and all that different stuff?
No, not really. Of course, Pace Morby's materials are kind of like the holy grail on the subject. I don't
Okay.
do a ton of these. I probably have only done 10 of these out of hundreds of deals that we've done. So this is not like my go-to strategy.
Okay.
Right now, part of the way to make more offers is to be creative. So Pace Morby has a group out there right now. You know, it's pretty popular group. Y'all can look for it. I don't have any affiliate fees, so you can look for it. But you know, I would just say that the more tools you have in your toolbox as an investor, the more ways that you could get things done. So that's a positive. But just be aware of the risk and be comfortable that things could happen that could cause you some grief and some headache. And so try to make your fee worth the amount of headache. If this was a very hard deal to move, 10K would not be enough because your expenses for finding the deal might be $3,500 a deal. So, if this was a very difficult deal to move, we wouldn't even be doing it because it's not enough spread on it. Or we would try to close it ourselves so we can make a little bit more. Good question, Chidi. Other questions on this one? Yeah, Mark Monroe does have some materials on this. Mark Monroe's down there in your area, Ryan. I've talked to him several times. He's a wheeler and dealer too. He does a lot of volume. So not a bad person to reach out to. He's on social media too. So
he does a lot of this stuff. Yeah, he does a lot of it. So I mean, yeah. He's a buddy of mine. So if you guys need information that whatever it is, he can help out and stuff. And he does it a little bit more legally and ethically than seen on internet too. So
yep, good. All right, other stuff y'all working on? We want to just get into making more offers. All right, so if you're in our 90-day challenge, one of the things that you're challenged to do is to make at least 3 offers a day. And so, if you've got a good list, if you've got some good data and you're talking to sellers, today we're going to talk about how to make more offers to those sellers. And I'm really kind of sharing with you all exactly like what I train my team to do and what we do. Okay. This is not really helpful to you if you haven't started talking to sellers yet. So if you don't have a good list to call or a good way to come up with people to talk to, this will also help you with that. But we're just going to talk about how to make more offers when you do get sellers on the phone. Okay. And what I'm going to do is pull up the document here and we kind of talk through. This. All right. And if you need this document and you're watching this later on Facebook, all you have to do is shoot us a DM. Yes, we're probably going to ask for your email address. We might even ask to talk to you, but we give stuff away all the time. So you're welcome to reach out to us. Okay. But yeah, how to make offers to sellers on the properties. Okay. First of all, we always do a 2-call close. Okay. We never make an offer on the first call. And we're always thinking about a conversation with a seller in 2 phases. So this is also true if you're talking to sellers in person. Okay, we don't usually make a verbal or written offer immediately because the first call is all about building rapport and gathering information. Okay, so Fantasia, I know you're talking to a lot of sellers. Like what we want to do is we want to gather information on the first call. This is where we ask things about the property, where we also anchor their expectations. So I want them to know, hey, I'm an investor. I buy properties, I sell properties for a profit. And so our offers are usually not retail offers. Why do I just tell them that up front? Because if they're only going to accept a retail offer from whoever they're talking to, that's not my customer. Okay, it's not my customer. We don't buy things for full price. We make our money when we buy. Okay, so we tell them this up front, but we do tell them, hey, the advantage to working with us is that we close fast. We're cash. We don't have contingencies. Don't do a whole lot of inspections outside of like just standard walking through the property. So we're telling them about the value that they're getting on the first call. In the case that we're offering something creative, like a novation or subject to, like we just talked to, or that we're asking them to list with us, which we will ask some people to let us list their property. I'm a licensed realtor in Texas. We focus on the value that we're bringing them more than the price or any type of we're not saying, well, will you let us owner finance it? Like we don't even say those words, right? We're focusing on the value that we're offering to them, okay? As much as possible, we want to try to get their price on the first call. So on the first call, we want to find out what they're asking for the property. We want to try to find out like what solves their problem. And it might not be price. We've talked about this on previous calls. It might be property management. It might be taxes, insurance, headaches. We want to try to find out what solves the problem for them. If they ask us for a price first, we always tell them that it would be easier to make them an offer if we have some idea of what they were expecting. Y'all get this? I just want the price. I just want the price. Well, it will help us to find out what you're expecting is a good counter to that. Otherwise, we tell them that our offers are generally pretty low. So if you don't give me a price up front, our offers are generally pretty low because of the benefits we provide. Because we're cash, because we're fast, because we don't do a whole lot of rigmarole running you around, our offers are generally pretty low. But if you give us a price that you're kind of expecting, then it kind of helps me have something, a starting place, okay? As much as possible, y'all, you should try to get their price first. Now, how do you calculate an offer? This is going to help those people that are like, well, I don't talk to sellers because I don't know what to offer them. Okay. This is why we do a 2-call close anyway. Because on the first call, you're getting information. And on the first call, you're gathering like motivation, like how motivated are they? What's the price they want? So Fantasia, what do you think is something you could do? Twana, this is for you too. I'm just calling names of who I see in the room here. Chidi, Isaac, what is something you could do if you do this first call and you don't know what to offer, but you know you have a very motivated person who wants to sell something quickly and they're okay with a discount? What is something you could do if you do that first call and you don't know what to offer? Matt, what you think?
Try to get some more just general property information, see potentially what they may want to if they're obviously they're open to sell, what they're looking for with the money, what do they want to do with the money.
Yep, you have all that information. So now
Oh,
you
okay.
get the first call and you know, hey, they want to pay off credit card. You have all that information. What could you do because you didn't make the offer on the first? What could you do before you make the offer? What could you do? Come on, y'all. You got to come off mute. We're gonna see how long I'm gonna wait on an answer.
Find out the pain point.
So you already have the pain point, right?
Okay.
You just say you can put them on hold and
And
do
do
some
what?
quick comps, or
You're not gonna make an offer on the first call anyway.
I would say maybe schedule an inspection.
Ryan says schedule an inspection. Hey, how about this, y'all? Like, how about you actually use your network? Right? Like, you've got 20 people in here. You could use your network. Like, you could just pick up the phone, Michael, and you could call Matt and be like, hey, Matt, I got this deal. This is the address. Can you look at it with me? Like, if you're in our challenge, you could just post your opportunity in the chat. We have a group, right? You could post your opportunity in the community and be like, hey, y'all, what should I offer on this? One of my buddies, Jeremy Mathis out of Miami, he called me this morning. He did this exact thing. So he has a property in Mississippi. He's in Miami, Florida. He says, hey, John, what would you offer on this? Like, I've got a lady. She says she doesn't really know what she wants for it, but she just wants to get rid of it. And he's like, what would you offer? And of course, we pull up the address. We run the numbers. He gets an answer. He goes back and offers that to his seller. Y'all, you could do this on $100,000 properties. You could do this on $3 million properties. Use your network. Use your network. Now, we're going to talk about how we calculate an offer, but the reason we do a 2-call close is because it also gives you an opportunity to use your network. I'm trying to look in the room. Darian, how many times have I called you and said, hey, man, what do you think this house is worth? He's on our team, right? But I do that to Darian. It's like, what do you think this house is worth? Darian might do it to me. Right? This is a strategy that you can use when you're building a community of people. When you have friends that are investors, like, you can talk to other people about your potential deals to help you. You don't have to like be on an island by yourself. Calculating the offer. Okay, so let's talk about that. I'll pull that up. Any questions or comments so far? I'm trying to pack more into our Monday calls, so you'll notice that I've got more like content that we're trying to get through. But if you have something that you're sharing or something you have to ask, like jump in so that we can answer your questions. No questions? Okay, so let's say you don't want to call John and say, John, what's a good thing to offer on this? Because John is probably going to tell you, you should be in our challenge or you should be one of my coaching students if you start asking me a bunch of times, right? But you've got plenty of people that you can also ask for how to make offers. Here's how we make offers. We calculate our offers by using a conservative ARV, okay? ARV is the after repair value of the property. We multiply the ARV by 70%, and then we take off for repairs and for our wholesale fee, which every deal is a wholesale deal. Even if we buy it or we flip it, we still take off the wholesale fee as well. For example, if the property is 100K, we multiply 100K times 70%. You have this on your screen. If you need a copy of this, shoot us a DM. We'll get a copy of this to you. Yes, we're asking for your email address. Okay. So 100K times 70% equals 70K minus repairs. Okay, we're going to do an estimate of repairs. You estimate the repairs based on your experience. So if you don't have a ton of experience estimating repairs, we have a calculator that we can share for that. We'll share that later in the challenge. But we generally have a calculator based on the level of the rehab that we encourage people to use, minus a wholesale fee. Okay, our wholesale fee minimum is 10K, but yours might be different. We take that off of what we offer as well. We call this, what you come up with, your max allowable offer. And your max allowable offer should be an anchor for any of the other types of creative stuff you want to do. So if you want to do subject to or seller finance, creative finance, anything like that, you still should be verbally pitching some type of number first. Again, this is the second call because you want to anchor them. You want to give them something to compare your subject to. Like I could offer you 30K or I could offer you a little bit more, but this is how we need to structure it. Okay. So your second call, you're going to generate your offer like this. Now, I will tell y'all this. Over the last year or two, this works less than ever. So we got some new people in the room. This is just my lack of sales skills here. I'm just being honest. The number of deals we're finding right now at 70% minus repairs, minus a wholesale fee is fewer than ever. Okay, so a lot of people have gotten to the business and the market has kind of changed. People aren't moving as much, but they're still out there and we still find them sometimes. So that's the positive. But you will find a little bit more people that might be willing to do something creative. If you're in a hotter market where there's more activity going on, you can go up to 75%. You can go up to 80%. Okay, if you're in a hotter market, there are different ways to get deals done. But conservatively speaking, 70% allows for you to have a 30% profit on your real estate deals. And that's going to allow for some mishaps in what normally happens in real estate to happen, and you still have some equity. All right, for creative deals where your seller says they're willing to finance, okay, if you have this happen, what you're looking for is a low down payment and low monthly payments for as long as possible. So if your seller says, and we have this happen a lot, like our cold callers will ask people, hey, you know, if we could get you a little bit more for the property, but we need to structure it a creative way. We get sellers that say they want to hear those options. That has increased over the last couple of years. More sellers are willing to seller finance. More sellers are willing to be creative, do subject twos. So what we do in that case is you still want a low down payment and you want low monthly payments for as long as possible. Why do you want a low down payment and low monthly payments for the people in the room? Why do you want low down payments and low monthly payments? Come on, somebody come off of mute. Why do you want a low down payment and low monthly payments?
You can
Ease
do
of
more
entry.
deals.
I hear ease of entry. What else did I hear?
You can do more deals.
You do more deals. Absolutely. And don't forget, you want the option to be able to wholesale these later if you need to. If you can't close the deal, you want to be able to wholesale it. Well, if you've negotiated some 50% down payment or some high monthly payment that doesn't cash flow, you're going to have less buyers that are interested in the deal for you to wholesale it to them. So you want to try to get your down payment as low as possible, your monthly payment as low as possible. And even if you're not going to keep the deal a long time, get as long of a runway as possible on the monthly payment. Mistake I made doing some of these is to try to tell people, well, just finance it to me for 6 months and then I'll pay it off, or finance it to me for a year. Like sometimes you have to do those, but the longer you can get, the better. Like this deal we contracted that I showed at the beginning of the call, go back and look at it if you just jumped on. He has a 30-year loan and there's no balloon. So the way we've structured the deal for the next 30 years, the person we're selling it to has a loan at 5% for the next 30 years. There's no balloon. That's the best way to do it. Low monthly payments for a long period of time. It's also helpful for you to get the seller's expectations first. So just like with the cash offer, if they say they're interested in something creative, ask them. So what would make sense for you to make this work? Try to get their idea first. A lot of times they won't even know how to come up with something, so you might have to structure it, but you still try to ask them first. All right, C, more offers. So we talked about subject to, we talked about cash offers. You can also talk to people about listing their property on the market or doing a novation. This is another way to get more offers. So instead of just being that cash person who's looking for something cheap, what you're really looking for, what I tell my team, what we're really looking for is people who want our help. We want people who want our help. Hey, I see a couple of questions in chat I missed. Ryan, absolutely. We would structure deals at a better loan to value because of the economy shift. Absolutely. Also, Ryan, something I said earlier is we generally take, 5-10% off of the ARV because the ARVs, they're coming down a little bit right now. Like real estate is a little bit slower than it was. So be conservative. Like don't listen to people that are trying to tell you that these properties are worth more than they ever have been. And you get out here doing a deal where you didn't take a little bit off of the ARV. Okay. So I think we're kind of doing the same thing when we say it that way. If the ARV is 275 and I run my numbers based on it being 255, I'm in great shape as far as my LTV goes.
I didn't want to interrupt, but again, I know around here in Clearwater, it's a pretty good area. Our houses went up, 30%, whatever it is in the last, 3 years, or 4 years. But again, we had about 2,000-3,000 houses in the market. Now there's about 5,000 to 6,000, and they're fixing up about 20,000 houses that were flooded from the hurricane. So there's going to be a big, big surge down here as well. And again, I don't know if you guys are buying stuff down here from the hurricane and all that, but I think there's going to be I think it's going to saturate a lot of these houses that are on the water too. So I don't know if that's going to affect mine, but again, I don't know how to do that around here with where all these houses are for sale. It was like 2,000-3,000 houses. Now it's, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 houses, not even counting the flooded houses from the hurricanes.
Yeah. And this
So that's like a lot of supply, right?
A lot of supply. Ryan, what we're seeing in Florida right now is there's more supply hitting the market than there is demand right now. So prices are only coming down if you have to sell, right? So this is people where they have to get rid of the house. Most people, if they have a 3% or 3.5% or 4% interest rate, they don't have to sell right now. So we aren't seeing like a major drop in prices, but absolutely, Florida's having a tough time right now because of higher inventory. And absolutely, if you're doing deals in Florida, you're going to see a ton of opportunity. There's still tons of people who want to move to Florida, but you need to run even more conservative numbers because their insurance is higher right now, their property taxes are higher, and there's more properties on the market. So if you're flipping in a place like Florida, we're seeing the same thing in certain parts of Texas. If you're flipping, run conservative numbers and make sure that you're buying from a really motivated person who's giving you a reason to do that deal. It's okay to say no to deals right now. It's okay to wait.
I saved one guy in Pace's group that was getting ready to buy a house. Like, oh, it's like 600,000. I'm like, yes, but it's in St. Pete, and it's where the flood got there at noon, not even like 6 p.m. And everybody house in there. So again, I was like, I'll drive by there. And I was like, hey, you're not getting $400 a square foot. So again, I don't know, does it usually go down like 10%, 15, 20%, or just don't know on that? Because again, if anybody else is buying anything here in St. Pete, Clearwater, I could be boots on the ground, just help you, or even just let you know and drive by, because everything around here that was flooded wasn't flooded 6 inches. It was like 4 feet.
Yeah. And when you're
I don't know how that works, man, because I think also, like you said, I think it's gonna be better if you hold it longer because if people think they're going to sell it in 6 months, it could be 2 or 3 years.
Yes. You know, the market right now is good for people that are buying and they're planning to hold long term. If you're buying a flip though, which is what we mostly do right now, we're either flipping or we're wholesaling. So if we're buying something that we're planning to turn over quickly, you want to be in a place where you have comps that are selling quickly, and you want to be at a price where you're sure your product can move when you get done with it. So good points. And Ryan's good to connect with. Ryan and I have done some deals together, so I feel comfortable telling y'all to check.
And again, I was asking about some of that too, because I mean, I have people that are buying around here, and even myself, I might even buy something around here too, but I just don't know how much is going to go down, because when you see that that area that had 1,200 units in that one neighborhood, 1,200 units, and they're all pretty much flooded. I mean, what's going to happen? They're all 70, 80 years old. So I mean, are those prices going to go down 10%, 20, 30? And again, I don't even know, because I mean, I have people that are asking me to put down 20, 30 grand because they're going to flip it, and I'm like, I don't know how to analyze that. I mean, I don't.
Well, here's how to analyze it. In the long term, real estate's going to go up in value over a 10-year period. Okay. If the schools are good and the location is desirable, look at it from a long-term perspective. You cannot time the market. Okay. We in our group teach you need to be buying a property problem or a property owner problem, which is going to get you a discount. We do not teach, like, some of the subject to stuff is like, let's buy the property for overpriced and hope in 10 years it's worth more. Like that's not what we're doing. So you should be getting a discount and running a conservative projection. Like, just run your numbers where, okay, what would happen if I had to keep this property for an extra year? Like, what would happen? It doesn't mean that we act out of fear, but it means that we're being a little bit more careful with our offers. We're offering lower to adjust for the times that we're in. But to fully answer your question, Ryan, like,
Okay.
there's nothing wrong with right now saying I need a 20 or 30% discount if I'm going to get into a project.
So, okay, that makes sense. That helps me out a lot. Okay.
If I'm not getting a 20, 30% discount, like, are the days on market in that area under 30 days? Like, is the market so hot in that area where if I go on the MLS, if there's 100 houses there that are listed, I'm just using a round number, are 50 of them pending or are 10 of them pending? It's a big difference.
More the rents are more in demand than the selling, because everybody's displaced and they want to rent something right now, but not buy because their insurance is going to take 6 months or a year. So again, I haven't been through this, but there's probably a big opportunity for something like this down here. So again, if we can find stuff that's 20, 30% off, be able to hold it, rent it out with the insurance the way it is, there could be a way of keeping these things for 3 or 4 years and making a good bit of money on them too. But okay.
Yeah, when we
I'll talk
buy,
about
a lot of people are scared. There's a lot of opportunity. When you get into buy and hold, and a lot of you all know, like, I'm in buy and hold. It hurts sometimes. You need to be in it for the long term. Okay, so don't get into buy and hold if you don't have active income coming from somewhere else. Don't get into buy and hold if you're planning to flip a property in 6 months. Like, buy and hold is 5 years, minimum 10 years, you're gonna love yourself. But 10 years is a long time if you're having cash flow problems. Ask me how I know. 10 years is a long time if you don't have another income stream. So you want to make sure that if you get into buy and hold, you're thinking long term. Okay. I also see a question in the chat. Is it okay if you have more than 2 conversations before making an offer? Sure. Sure, Isaac. More conversations, more relationship built. Sure. Absolutely. I want to get through this today. So you should still see my screen. I have in here how you calculate a novation offer. I'm not going to go through that, but that's here. We call our novations our national homebuyer program, by the way. We don't call them novations because nobody knows what a novation is. And it kind of, whenever you hear somebody telling you about something and you don't understand the word, people don't like that. So we call it our national homebuyer program. There's some information here on novations, which we could talk about those in a totally separate section. All right. for your second call. So now you've calculated your offer. Let's say it's a cash offer. You've calculated what you're going to offer. Before you make the offer, when you call the seller back, confirm your rapport. Remind them who you are. Remind them what you do. If the Saints have won a football game, remind them about that. If you remember that they were a Saints fan, remind them of something positive from the first conversation. So usually, like I had this guy this month that was talking about XRP crypto. When I call him back to make an offer, I'm going to remind him about XRP. Okay. Number 7, tell them after discussing with your partner that you've come up with an offer that's a little more than you probably should, but you want to get as close to the price they needed as possible. Remember, they gave you a price. So you're positioning yourself like you came up a little bit from where you wanted to be. You came up a little bit, but you didn't quite get exactly where they wanted on price. That's going to help you. Always blame any issues over the price on somebody else or something else. Never take responsibility for the difference in price between your offer and what the seller wants. Why is that? We teach that you build rapport with your seller. So you don't need to be the guy that they blame for why the offer isn't as high as possible. So sometimes I blame it on a partner. Sometimes I blame it on interest rates right now. Sometimes I blame it on the economy. But I'm never the guy that's making them the low offer. Like, I'm not trying to steal your property. Okay. It's just the interest rates right now. This is where the offer is coming in. Okay. Or I might tell him I have a partner and he really didn't even want me to offer this, but I think that we could still make money at this. So I was willing to make this offer to you. Always offer somewhere around 75% of your max allowable offer. Okay. Why am I saying that? Why am I saying to always offer somewhere around 75% of your max allowable offer? Anybody know? Anybody know?
Leaves you some room.
Gives you some room to come up, right? And a lot of times they will just accept this number, by the way, but they will come up a lot of times when we make an offer. So if my max allowable offer on a deal is 100K and I offer 75K, okay, and they say, well, I'm not going to take anything less than 85. I can still do 85 because I didn't start at my max allowable offer. And when I was first getting started and I learned the formula, 70% of ARV minus repairs, minus the wholesale fee, I would just make that offer first. And a lot of times it was the best I could do. So I didn't have any room to go up with the seller. Now, if you use this strategy, you have some flexibility there. And I have an example in this document for you all as well. So you can look at that example. If the seller verbally agrees to the offer on the second call, get the contract on the call. If you're doing an in-person appointment, if they agree verbally to anything, have a contract on hand. Darian, does this work? How many times do people change their mind after you leave? Okay. So get a contract, have it in the car, or if you're doing phone calls, have a DocuSign contract available and walk them through the contract on that call. Go ahead and get everything signed on that call if possible. Okay. That way you have a contract and everything's agreed to. You can also explain things to them while they're happy. Sometimes they will decline the offer, which is great, right? If they decline the offer, then that's just one no on the way to your next yes. You're going to get a lot of declines if you're making offers. Okay. So if they decline the offer, thank them for letting you present the offer. If they say they need to discuss the offer with somebody else, ask them to set up a call or meet with the person that they need to talk to. Right. But when you hear them decline an offer, that's not a bad thing, because when they decline your offer, it puts them on a very special list. And we're about to wrap up here. When they decline your offer, it puts them on a very special list. Do y'all know what list that is? They put you on the list that gets more deals done than any other list in your real estate business is the follow-up list. When they decline, they're not really saying no, never. They might think they are. They're saying no, not right now. And you're going to get more good deals from your follow-up list than you ever will from people that are just accepting your offer the first couple of times you talk to them. You're going to get more deals from the person who said no to you a year ago, but you still had them on your list to call back. They still own that property. They're still frustrated. They still have a lot of issues they're dealing with. And a year later, now they're selling you that property for a crazy price. And you're like, how did I get this deal? It's because you kept following up with them. Always set an appointment to review the offer at a time that's good for the seller as well. So if that 12, I probably should have put it in earlier, but you don't want to call them back for the appointment when you know you're going to be walking them through an offer and trying to get them to sign a contract when they're busy. So try to find a time where you know they're going to have a window where you can talk to them, deal with any objections, and get the contract signed in that same conversation. Hopefully this helps. You've got a lot of stuff we went over today. If you need this document and you're in our challenge, I'm going to share the link right now to the people in the challenge. If you're not in our challenge, we are not accepting anybody else right now, but we'll do another one in the next 90 days. We're going to work with this group as much as possible for the next 90 days. If you need one-on-one support, we do have a group coaching offer that you can reach out to me about. So if you need some one-on-one help, I don't really do one-on-one, but we do have some group support, and you can reach out to me. I'll tell you about that package that we're offering right now too. Facebook, I'm saying bye to y'all, but I'm gonna check with the people in the room here and see what else we got. All right, what do y'all think? What do folks need help with today? Was this helpful to you? Do you have questions about this process? People that are still in the room. We're logged off of Facebook too.
I think you got
Yeah.
a boat. I think you got a boat full of good data and great techniques and stuff that's worked, and then stuff that's not worked that you said. More than some of the programs out there that are 5, 10, 15,000. So I mean, I think you're great. I learn a lot from you. I write down notes and everything else while I'm outside here and everything, listen to you. So I know I've done a lot of bigger stuff, but again, you know, I mean, it's so true that right now you need the cash flow before you buy and hold. So it's great, man. A lot of the things you say are the things that I might have not done because we did bigger deals. But again, it's all about cash flow or making a wad of money in your dentist degree or whatever it is. Then you can do your buy and holds or 2, 3 year. But I love hearing you talk, man. You're awesome, John. Great information, man, and love hearing you, man.
Appreciate you, Ryan. Good to see you this week too. Let's have a good year, man. We're trying
You
to
should come down and speak in April at our event. I didn't even think about it, but if you want to, man, you know, the food and drinks are on me, man. If you want to, April 3rd. I don't know if you're busy.
Man, we'll touch base. Hey, what else y'all got? Who's working on something? Darian, I saw you said you're working on a deal now. This is the time, y'all, where you ask for what you need. So if you're having trouble with something, ask for what you need. If you're working on something and you just need a partner, ask. This is the time. We're gonna stay here for about I have a 1 o'clock, but we're gonna stay here for about 8 more minutes, and I'm gonna text him that I can't jump on right this second. Hey, Riz.
Question. Oh.
Riz, she might have left and went to the 8 o'clock, so that's good. Hey, go ahead if you got a question for him.
Okay. So a seller called me while I was on another line. So now when I call back, it goes to voicemail, like no matter what time of day that I call. And I also send a text message. So how do you handle that?
So did you ever get them on the phone?
No, this is initial contact.
Yeah, so very, very cold lead, right? Maybe they blocked you. You could, of course, we teach y'all to call twice, right?
Correct.
We teach you to leave a voicemail, and we teach you to text message.
Got it.
Call twice, voicemail, text. If they don't want to talk to you, you can't make them talk to you.
Correct.
But if they talk to you, that becomes a much warmer situation, right? I wouldn't spend a ton of time with somebody who doesn't want to talk to you. But you know, if you know you have a good number, then you keep following the formula. So we use RE Simply as a CRM. In our system, they would come up back for a call every 30 days. So
Okay.
every 30 days, they're going to get another 2 calls, text message, and a voicemail. And one day they might be ready to talk to you, but it sounds like right now they're not.
Okay, got it. And then speaking of Resimply, I'm still trying to get acclimated. I cannot get past the 10 DLC reg or whatever. And so we keep going back and forth, but yeah, so I can't make phone calls. I'm having to make phone calls from,
Have you been able to get in touch with their support? Like have they, I know you said they were not good.
yeah, they haven't been good to me. Other people, they have. So I sent another message last night, still no response this morning. So
Yeah, we had problems with that. Like she's talking about the ability to be able to text customers and call. But one of my VAs handled that, and I remember us having trouble with it initially. But they kind of went back and forth with tech support until we were able to get it up and going.
okay.
That's
Right.
probably just the headaches you got to deal with right now on that
Mhm.
side.
Okay.
Don't forget on Wednesdays, check your email because on Wednesdays they do like a live call, and a lot of times it's the owner of the company that's on there. So if you're
Oh,
having trouble with tech support, I would probably text them or maybe jump on that call and be like, hey, I don't want to blast this out for 100 people on the call, but I need some help with something. Can somebody reach out to me?
okay. Perfect. Thank you.
I don't get on that call every Wednesday, but I see the email every Wednesday that they're doing it.
Hey, John, in regards to the DocuSign contract, I've only used DocuSign from somebody sending me a document and then me filling out something for various things. But do you also have like a sample, something I can just kind of have ready to go to try to whip it up and be ready for that?
I can share a copy of the contract that we use. Yes. As
Okay.
far as like our template for DocuSign, I'm not sharing that, but
Okay.
I can share just the standard contract that we use.
Okay, great.
I'll drop a
Thank
link
you.
for everybody in the chat as well. Also, Chidi just made me think about something because we had a chat on Friday, and I think it's okay for me to remind everybody. There are steps to what we're talking about. And today we talked about making offers. If you're not yet talking to 5 sellers every day, like you have to get on that, you have to get in there, right? So Chidi last week, he went to a meetup, ran into a few people, but not a lot. Like I'm telling y'all, like you don't need a contract if you don't have a motivated seller. If you have a motivated seller, like that's what you're going after. So everybody in the room can hear this. This is not just for Chidi. Like you get on the phone. If you don't like being on the phone, put some yard signs out. You know, we talked about this on Friday. Do some stuff to get you some motivated people to talk to, and then solve your other problems once you have leads. I solve problems right now. Like Chidi, we're kind of laughing. I can't tell y'all. I probably still every property I put under contract right now. I probably don't know how I'm going to fund it when we put it under the contract. Right? This is something that we figure out once we know we have a deal. But why are we spending all this time on stuff before we even know we have something? You know what it's called? It's called procrastination. It's called procrastination. I'm the master of procrastination. So instead of procrastinating, like I look at deals under contract as being the most important thing to me as a real estate investor. Once I have deals under contract, I have something else to work on. It creates another problem to work on. Okay. But absolutely, I'm going to put a link to our one-page contract in the chat for the 90-day challenge, folks, right now. All right, what else are y'all working on? Hey, this contract is filled in. I'm just looking at it. It's filled in, Chidi, so you'll have to edit it for yourself.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I asked another thing too. I asked a question about like when I am initially talking with people on the phone. I appreciate the list. I started calling it, and there's some of those when I'm calling, and I'm going based off the name, on the sheet, and let's say it's not that person, and so I'm like, "Hello, Joe," and they're like, "Wrong number." Should I not start off by asking or like saying like, hey, this is their name, or should I just go straight into not going to give their name because maybe if it is a wrong number, that's going to turn them off and then they're going to want to hang up already.
So this is a complicated question, but I'm gonna try to answer it simply. Like if
Okay.
you're calling a stranger, you probably don't say their name
Okay.
because I don't know who you are. How do you know my name? There's all kinds of trust issues. So
Mhm.
what we say is, hi, I'm Chidi or I'm John. I buy houses in your area and I'm calling to talk to you about your property, right? I don't even tell them a property address. Why don't I tell them a property address? Because the property might be wrong, right?
Mhm.
So I don't tell them a property address and I don't use their name because my data may not be right. However, I know my name is right and I know that I buy properties in the area, which is also correct. So, it just starts the conversation off a little bit better when you do it that way. If I'm using leads that I have talked to people before, like, y'all, this is a Monday and I'm not bragging, but today is going to be a good day. I got 4 leads while we were on the phone. This is why you should have a team, right? I got 4 leads while we were on our 12 o'clock call. Now, because these leads came in today, when I call, I'm probably gonna say, after I say, I'm probably gonna say, is this Mia Moore or is this Jane? But I'm doing that because I'm working a lead. I'm not doing a cold call list, right? So if you know your data's right, that's a little bit better. If you know your data might not be right, then I wouldn't use the name. And I wouldn't use the property address either. So if you're pulling stuff from PropStream or PropWire or any of these other places we pull lists from, Propelio, it's like so many people do not like when you say the wrong property address or the wrong name. It turns them off. They feel like you're a scammer already. You're cold calling. Why don't you just use the information that you know is right? Your name and what you do.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anybody got anything else today before we jump off? Feel like we talked forever today. We've been using some of this content to like break it up and turn it into reels and stuff. So hopefully some of it can get repurposed later. But if y'all need anything, if you're in the challenge group, like post what you're doing to the group. If you're having success, if you have a good call, like post to the group, because I'd like to use it where we're encouraging each other. Where if you have questions, post them because it helps other people as well. But hey, I think this week is going to be a good week for real estate opportunities. So if I can help y'all, just reach out. If you need leads, don't forget, if you need leads, reach out to me. Yes, it's going to cost you some money. If you need anything else from me, y'all know, reach out. I'll help you as much as I can. Y'all have a great day. Talk to y'all later.